This is the spine of the scapula. Okay, good. Supraspinatus. Okay, so its role is to initiate shoulder abduction. So it starts it. So it starts it. So I want you to look at this diagram real quick. So it's on page 4. So if you look at this diagram right here with the shoulder and the 3 arrows, if you look at the top one, that's the direction of pull. So it pulls this way and starts abduction, and then the deltoid starts to pull that humerus up, and we got the role of the next 2 here. So what's this, Steph, you answer this, what's this muscle right here? Yeah, good. Yeah, you said it right. Infraspinatus. Okay, so supraspinatus pulls this way. Infraspinatus pulls this way. So the main function of the infraspinatus and the mini, what's the one that accompanies it? Teres minor. So both of those, they pull back, but their main function, if you look at their main function, is external rotation of that humerus. So, make sense? Okay. You guys are doing awesome. Okay, 20 minutes to go over. So that's SIT. And then what is the subscap, or what's the other one?
Subscapular.
Hey! So what is that piece? So that sits here. And it attaches this way. So what does it do to the humerus? What kind of rotation? Internal rotation of the humerus. You're so smart. Now there's 2 other muscles that you just need to be aware of. And that's the ones we talked about as the shoulder stabilizers. Okay, I'm going to put this in a little bit of a different color. Okay, so right below this, there's another muscle here, and then there's these huge muscles down here. So the little one, this is teres right here. This is teres major. And then what are these? What are the big long fiber lats? Okay. Latissimus dorsi. Okay, so both of those do what? Do you know?
Adduction.
Yes, and what else? So shoulder adduction and internal rotation, because they're actually hooked. They come up and hook up here on this front side of the tibia. So when they, I'm sorry, not the humerus. So when they contract, they pull down and in. So if you're ever watching me do shoulder rehab, I'll have them start here, hold that strap, they pull in and turn. Or they're here, they pull back and turn in like this. Okay, boom. That's why swimmers have big lats, because they're here, internal pull. So they're also a shoulder extender, but their main purpose are...
That's what makes them
yeah.
that huge Superman looking.
Yeah, and that's where you get, that's why you do pull-ups and all
Well,
that.
he's wide, so.
Yes, why?
Wide.
Okay, and then the other muscles just to mention, on the front side, you're going to have pec minor. Okay, pec minor is going to tip, they're going to anteriorly tip the scapula forward. So it tips the shoulder girdle forward, the whole glenohumeral joint goes forward. So pec major does what? Pec major. 2 motions.
Yeah, this
Yes on the first one. The second one's a combination of a lot of stuff. So you guys are both right, but what is that?
Horizontal adduction, abduction.
Correct. And you don't see it a lot, but how you train pecs to get the whole thing is you come in and you internally rotate. Because the muscle fibers run from here and here and go all the way up and over, so when they contract, it pulls it over. So it pulls this way. That's how I always figure out muscles, you guys, is I put my finger on where the origin and insertion is, and I pull them. I just pull them together.
You have to know the origin of the
Exactly. But once you learn that, you're like, oh, that's what it does.
Okay, so internally rotates.
What?
It internally rotates and
Horizontal AD does.
horizontally. So wait, pec minor and the pec major. What?
Pec minor, it tips that shoulder blade forward. So if you have a tight pec minor, which most people do, that's not going to help us at all when we're trying to get those shoulder blades back and down, is it? No.
And that is here.
Yeah, it's from the coracoid process, and then it kind of blends down. It's like if you had two. It's like where your backpack straps are on, or your purse strap.
And that's where it like was with Dick.
Exactly. So if you look at Nick, he has a lot of pec development of his pec major, tons of spasticity of his pec minor, but his upper fibers of his pec major are like gone. They just go poop and dip. So he has his shoulder was way forward. Nick Curtis.
Really?
Yeah, because of his shoulder. So he hurt his shoulder doing this. He jacked it got inflamed, and it caused all these to atrophy. So it just sunk.
That's why I've been watching what he's doing because it's like weird.
But he didn't, I mean, what, the atrophy in the past week?
They'll shut down within like 24 hours.
He had to.
I had to activate it again. So like when she jacked her back up, her multifidus muscles right along here, done. Within 24 hours, they'll atrophy, they'll shrink, you'll lose neurological advantage, mechanical advantage, everything. Or like you with your hip stuff, your glute. Remember your glute was once this more active on one side than the other? It just deflates. Okay? All right. Now the other muscles are bicep and tricep. We know what those do. Right? So bicep, extend. It also does this. Also shoulder flexions. Okay? Tricep, elbow extend, and also shoulder extension. Making a sense?
Yeah, pec major, arm horizontal, abduction, and
Internal rotation. Okay. Big deal here. So this is the take-home message, and then this will lead into us next time talking about all of the injury patterns.
Wait, pec minor, internal rotation also.
Tips and
Not
shoulders.
pec minor.
Not pec minor does not do that. Okay, just tips the shoulder.
Okay, so I want you to look at, okay, so let's look at this sheet first. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about is the shoulder mechanics, okay? So normal shoulder mechanics are going to include, and I'll send you guys these notes too, but they're going to be upward rotation. Dude, this is like the most important part.
I'm listening! I just realized I'm having a class and I need to stuff some food now.
Always important to feed your trainers. Okay. So let's talk about this real quick. So when we just went over all those structures, okay. So when we look at the shoulder joint itself, So we have all those ligaments, right? So we have the ligament, the Z ligaments in the front, all that support or stabilize the anterior portion of the rotator cuff, right? When you look at the, so that's the anterior part. The superior portion of the whole shoulder joint is going to be what? What did I tell you guys was the ceiling? Do you remember? Supraspinatus. Yep. So if you look at this is the ceiling. Okay. The ceiling of the entire shoulder girdle. Okay. The anterior support also comes from the subscapularis, and then you got the bony articulations. Okay. So anterior support comes from bony articulations, ligaments, and muscles. The superior support, or the ceiling, is mostly coming from the supraspinatus. The posterior support is coming from the infraspinatus and the teres minor. So the shoulder has stability here, on the front side here, because it has the ligaments, and on the back side coming from the rotator cuff, so it's sandwiched. There is not a lot of stability at the bottom, which is why you see the winging scapula thing. Okay? So it doesn't have strong structures, lots of ligaments, there's no real bony articulations to hold it into place because it has to move. And the reason it has to move is because of this. So these are the mechanics of the shoulder. So these are super duper important. Okay? So the first thing that happens is the upwards rotation of the scapula. Okay? So when you look at a scap, you're going to have this coming across, coming up. It starts here. So the first thing that happens when we say upwards rotation, what direction does that mean it goes? If you're looking at the glenoid fossa, and then the humerus is right here. Right, so it has to go this way, right? So it goes up. So upwards rotation. What starts to initiate that? Supraspinatus, right? So supra happens here, deltoids go over the top. Okay? So then, what do you think kicks in? So we got the initiation, so the upwards rotation of the scapula, which is going to be a combination between your supraspinatus and your deltoid. Then number 2, stabilization of the scapula on the rib cage. So in your scapulothoracic joint, that has to be pulled. So look at page number 4 in your handouts. And just look at page number 4. That's okay. The one with the arrows. Because this is important. Okay? So page number 4, if you look at this, so this supraspinatus pulls this way, the deltoid pulls this way, the infraspinatus and the teres minor pull that way. So the stabilization of the scapula and the rib cage. Why? We can get people to upwardly rotate their scapula, can't we? We don't see a lot of this though, do we? So we're already trashed on stabilization of the scapula and the rib cage because they wing out because they're so used to rolling forward. So number 3, that concurrently happens with contraction of the rotator cuff. So these two muscles, and then all of them, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and then on the flip side, subscapularis on this side, all pull that shoulder blade back. So that's what scaptions are for, right? When I have them do scaptions, I don't have them just do this and use delts, do I? I'm always pulling back and down, and then when you do this, you're using these muscles right here.
Yeah,
so we
focus on having our shoulder stiffness.
Exactly. That motion alone is what's called scapulohumeral rhythm. So we do that exercise to reestablish scapulohumeral rhythm. Okay? Now, if this doesn't happen, and there is a weakness in any of these movement patterns or musculature, then we end up with problems. We end up with sliding shoulders, shoulder impingement, decreasing of the subacromial space. You got shoulder dislocations, bursitis and tendonitis, because this bone, the humerus, cannot clear the bony articulations of the scapula, so it just sits in here and hits on this, and everything gets irritated and inflamed and puffy and not real happy. Does that make sense? So that's where it starts. So it starts with impingement. And then it ends up progressing into an injury pattern. Okay?
Trevor school.
Trevor school. So